Hey there, good morning and happy Tuesday. Thank you so much for making the time to watch this replay. All month long, I am talking about Facebook Live, helping us go a little bit deeper so that you can use it to help you make your message roar. Last week, I talked about all the things to think about before going live so that you can feel comfortable and confident to hit that go live button. But if you are still hesitant or you want to make sure that you make the most of every live that you do, then I have got you covered, because today I'm going to be talking about all the things to think about during your Facebook Live. For those of you who don't know me or don't know me well, my name is Carrie Price. I'm a brand messaging coach, helping ambitious service-based business owners find and own the words to stand out, be heard, and make your message roar. Hey, Jill, so good to see you. I look forward to catching up with you soon. I hope everything is okay. Hey, Rebby, so great to have you join me live. Thank you guys for being here. So today we're talking about all the things to think about during your Facebook Live. I'm going to be talking about the format of the content, like the order of events to consider for your lives, how to encourage more interaction from both live watchers and replay watchers, and the key to making every single watcher feel like you're talking just to them. Does that sound good? For those of you who are joining me live, and even if you're watching the replay, I asked this last week. I'm going to ask it again every live this month since we're focusing on Facebook Live. Are you currently using Facebook Live in your business? And if so, are you doing it regularly? And if not, why not? Hey, Janet. Hey, Cheryl. Thank you guys so much for joining me live today. It's so great to have you here. Let me skip over here into my notes. I didn't quite have them queued up. So like I said, we're going to talk about from top to bottom how I like to structure my Facebook Lives. Last week, I talked about getting prepped for the Facebook Live. So if you watched that, or if you followed me for any length of time, you know I always have notes. I've got a bullet point list of notes to make sure I don't miss anything that I want to cover. But if you have questions that you think of along the way, drop those in the comments. Depending on how you're watching this video, down below or to the side, drop those in the comments and I will answer them. Even if you're watching the replay, I will come back and answer every single one. Facebook Lives, just for those of you who maybe aren't using Facebook Live yet, or maybe not fully embracing it yet in your business, it really is one of the best ways to make your message roar. It helps you deliver your message in a way that's so relatable. When you use your one-of-a-kind message in conjunction with your own brand personality, you make connection with people so much faster. Talk about being actionable. It's a totally actionable way to put your message out there, and it encourages interaction with your audience, just like you're doing now. And if you're not already commenting, I hope you will as we go. And when you do it consistently, reliably in your business, it helps you build the know, like, and trust even faster, right? And when you are reliable in the message that you share, and I'm going to talk about some of the key elements that I want you to include in your Facebook Lives from your message, that gives people the reliability of your message, right? Facebook Lives totally helps you make your message roar. So if you're not doing it yet, please do. All right. Jill says, yes, she goes live every week with a theme. Oh, let me make these bigger. These look little today. Do the comments show up super little for you guys? Or is it just me on the preview here? Oh, here we go. Let's make that bigger. All right. Yeah, Jill says every week with a theme. Janet says, yes, every Thursday at 1 o'clock Eastern. Love that. All right. Cheryl says, nope, and I really need to. I still can't think of what to talk about when I'm getting there. Oh, Cheryl. I follow some other graphic designers, my own graphic designer included. She does some amazing things with Facebook Live. So many things that you can be talking about. If you don't know what to talk about on Facebook Lives, you guys, that's a bigger messaging problem. Because if you're really clear on your message and who you're talking to, what you do, how you serve them, why they care, literally content will flow out of you like never ending. All right. Hey, Helen, so great to see you. Thank you so much for joining me live. Cheryl says, is there a point if you don't have a group and only have a page? Yes. You'll notice I go live on my page. There's so many reasons for that. I will cover that more. I'll pick that up in the queue. I'll do a live, the last live of this month I'll do is a Q&A and sort of pick up some of these extra questions. Yes, you absolutely want to do Facebook Lives on your page. I also do them in my group, but we'll talk more about that in a couple weeks. Cheryl, I'll break down for you why the page versus the group, okay? Rebby says, I'm very irregular, but I do go live quite a bit. Awesome. Rebby, that's great. I'll encourage you to consider doing that on a more consistent schedule. That's what gets you reliable for people. They start to look for your content, right? So you can, last month it was all content creation and content planning, and I talked more about that. So if you have any specific questions about why you should do that, you can go check out one of those lives. Cheryl says, I think my number one issue, I totally know what I want to do, how I want to educate people, but I don't have a group. Okay, Cheryl, groups are great, but you don't need a group. A lot of people are very successfully using Facebook Lives on their page. Most of my Facebook Lives moved out to my page because there's a lot of benefit to doing that. We have a guest expert coming into the group later this month. He doesn't have a group. He's killing it on Facebook Live on his page. So stick around and you'll, I think, learn a lot of tips from him and topics that I'll cover in a couple weeks. So thank you guys for sharing with me how you're using Facebook Live. If you're not yet using Facebook Live or you want to up your game a little bit, let's dive into the details. By the way, I'm sorry, I was like a minute late starting the live. Just as I was about to hit the go live button, I realized I left my cup of tea in the kitchen. I had to run out there. You guys know I can't do a live without some tea. Really, it's that I can't talk this long without something to drink. Cheryl says, thank you. That'll be a huge help. You're welcome, Cheryl. We've got you covered all month long. We're going to get you comfortable with Facebook Live, using it in your business. Okay. So let's talk about all the things to think about once you've hit that go live button, right? Now, the first thing is that you want to make sure you're set up with good lighting and good quality video, right? Now, spoiler alert, totally your cell phone can do this for you. I started using my cell phone for my Facebook Lives, and the quality of the camera and the sound and everything on your cell phones these days are awesome. But later today in the messaging den, I'm actually going to do a behind the scenes live where I'm going to show you my video studio. Like, you're going to see behind the camera, around the camera, you're going to see everything, the equipment that I use, the setup for lighting, but not just what I do currently in my video studio, because you don't need a dedicated video studio space, but I'll be talking about the different elements that you can incorporate in your own space, and also all of the equipment that I used along the way, starting with going live from my cell phone, which was great, and then how I've evolved and changed the lighting, how I've changed what mic I use, what cameras I use, all of that. So if you want a little bit more information about that, I will be behind the scenes in the messaging den this afternoon at, I think it's at 2:30 Eastern. Just looking for the URL. You can go to, oh, not that one. Let's do this one. You can go to themessagingden.com or search for the messaging den right here on Facebook. And then you can pop in and watch that video this afternoon or catch the replay. Okay. So I'm going totally behind the scenes showing you all the equipment. And I will tell you my current video studio setup, while I have the dedicated space, the cost of all of the equipment, I'm going to guess, is under $200. Like, it's not a super expensive setup. So I want to share all of that with you guys this afternoon. So come and join me if that interests you and you would like some help. Because you do want to make sure people can see you, and lighting is a big indicator of that, right? If you're in a shadowed spot, not well lit, people can't see your face, it's harder for the connection. You want to make sure they can hear you, so you need to make sure your audio is good. And obviously you need something to go live with, right? Now, if you're going live from your phone, you go to Facebook, wherever it is you want to go live, just like you're going to start a brand new post, and you have the description. You can type in a description of the video, of what you're going to talk about. And then at the top, I think it's at the top on the phone, maybe it's at the bottom on the phone, but you'll see a go live, or it's a more options. You know what? I'm just going to look right now because I want to make sure that I get that right for you. So, because I got this asked the other day, and I forget that not everybody knows how to actually go live. So if I were going live in the messaging den, for example, oh yeah, okay. Let's see if you can see it, my phone. All right. So you would go to the messaging den just as if you were starting a new post. And then you see down here at the bottom. So you would start up here, you would write the description, a little bit of information about what it is you're going to talk about. And then you click the live video down here at the bottom. Now, when you do that, it doesn't go live right away. You sort of go into this preview mode. Oh, you can kind of see my equipment. You sort of go into this preview mode on the iPhone. And I don't think Android does all the same things. It's part of the reason why I switched back to iPhone. But there's, you know, you can put filters on and all kinds of stuff. But you get all set up, and then there's a separate start live video. So even though you're creating that post and you hit go live, you have, like, that's not the live yet, right? It kind of puts you in that preview mode. To go live from your computer, last week I did a behind the scenes Facebook Live for using Ecamm Live, which is what I'm using right now. It's what I use for, I'd say 95% of my, well, let's call it 90% of my live videos, because when I go live in other people's groups, you can't use a tool like that. So I showed you how to pre-schedule using Facebook Live, but you don't even need that to go live. If you're not pre-scheduling, same thing. You start a post just like you were going to create a written post, and you'll see a go live option at the top. So you can do that from any browser. Same thing. It'll put you in preview mode. You'll get to, you know, double check the couple settings that are available, and then you'll hit that go live button. So if you've never done a live before, practice. Go somewhere where you can practice. My group is one of those places where you can go and practice going live. You can go live anytime in my group. I ask that you keep it just, you know, under 10 minutes. So pop in and practice, share, you know, introduce yourself. Let us get to know you. Don't worry about it being perfect. Come in and just try the mechanics of it. Okay. So you can pop into the messaging den to do that. But, and one quick tip on your phone, if you're going live from your phone, the orientation matters when you get started, right? So if you want to go live and have the long video this way, then make sure if that's the way your phone is positioned before you hit that final go live button. But if you want a horizontal video, make sure you do it that way before you hit the go live. You can't change that orientation once you start, or your video will be sideways in the feed. Okay. So, oh, Jill says, I practice on my profile and give info about my life to friends. It's a great way to practice. Yeah, that's an awesome way to practice, Jill. Like, no pressure, right? You're just like talking and sharing information with your friends. That's awesome. You can also post and change the privacy settings so it's only visible to you. So look at the post down at the bottom. You always can control your privacy settings. And that way, even if you're posting it to your own personal profile, you're the only person who will see that. And then you can delete it after. So lots of different ways that you can practice, but why not practice coming and introducing yourself, sharing a little bit about you so that people can get to know you while you're practicing, right? Totally safe space. Hey, Anita, so great to see you. It's been a while. I hope you are doing well. All right. So now you're all set up. You're ready to go live. I'm going to break down for you what the order that really works, that works for me. And I'm going to explain to you why like from start to finish, everything to cover. All right. Now, here's the tip for making everyone feel like you're speaking directly to them, talking directly to them. And that's to make sure you're looking right in the camera lens. Whether that's on your phone or on your computer. Now on your phone, especially if you're going sideways, like remember your lens is over here. People have a tendency to look at the middle and to look at themselves on the screen. But notice if I start doing that and I'm down here and I'm talking and I'm looking at my other stuff. I mean, yes, I look at my notes when I'm looking at my notes, but most of the time I'm looking right in the lens and it looks like I'm looking right into your eyes, right? Now, I will be totally honest, that is so weird in the beginning and terribly uncomfortable. Like that took me a long time to get comfortable looking right in the lens, but now it feels weird when I don't. So just like most things with your Facebook Live, it's going to feel weird and uncomfortable in the beginning, but it's going to get really comfortable and really easy, and you won't even think about it. Yeah, Jill says this is my oops. I look at myself and I forget to look at the lens. Totally normal, Jill. Totally normal. In fact, it's a little bit weird now, even when I'm on my Zoom calls with clients, I do that, right? I want you to know I'm looking right at you, but that often means I'm not looking at my client on the video because I want them to see that I'm like listening to them, connected to them. This is one, like I said, it feels really weird in the beginning. To stare at the lens, and you're like, I can see myself down below on the screen. I can, right? And it's kind of weird. You want to look at that, but it makes such a difference in the connection that you make with your watchers. So now pay attention to this as you look at other people's Facebook Lives that you watch. You will see the people that do look in the lens, like you feel more connected to them. They actually feel like they're talking to you. And the people who are watching themselves, you feel disconnected, right? Now, they're not doing that on purpose. Of course, our eyes are drawn to the movement on the screen, which is us. But if you can practice that and help yourself get comfortable with that, it makes such a big difference in how you come across. Lisa says, I have practiced this and still revert back to make sure I'm not making crazy faces. Okay, Lisa, I know I make crazy faces because after the live, and next week I'm going to talk about all the things post live, like after you're done with your live, but, and you go to look at all the possible thumbnails or the screen captures. Facebook inevitably picks all the worst facial expressions I make. In fact, one of these days, I think I'm going to start taking screenshots of all the bad ones and just make a collage. Like literally, I look like I'm a psycho serial killer or something in half of my facial expressions. So don't worry about that. Because if you were talking with someone like in person, you would make crazy faces because you're emoting, right? Like you've got feeling and interaction, and that's okay. Who cares, right? This is you showing up, being authentically you. Cheryl says, you're so right. It makes a huge difference in perception. I can think of people who aren't so good at this, and it's a little weird. Yeah, see? So you become really aware of this now. In fact, sorry, I just ruined this for all of you guys who weren't aware of this before, because now that you can't unknow that. But it totally changes the energy and the dynamic of how you connect to the speaker, right? So practice that. Again, it's totally weird and uncomfortable in the beginning, but it's so worth it. Yeah, Cheryl, the thumbnails are always so bad. So bad. Yeah. Next week, I'm going to share with you guys how to choose the best thumbnail, even when you're going live in other people's groups. I've shared this tip before, but I'll share it again next week. Rebby says, I think I might paint an eye around my camera so that I feel more like looking at it. That's a really great tip, Rebby. And in fact, a lot of people in the beginning, when you're just getting used to it, there's a couple things you can do. And especially depending on your lighting, if you can't really clearly see the lens. Oh, and that's like, especially going live from your phone, like it's black on black, right? So like put a Post-it note or a sticker or one of those little arrow things, like exactly where the lens is, right? And see, like, so, and on your phone, here's a trick for finding it on your phone. I'll do it on my webcam. I know where it is, but like you run your finger across it until your finger covers it. Do that on your phone when you're practicing so that you know exactly which one of the holes is the camera if you're worried about not knowing which one. Okay. So yeah, some people put a picture, either right behind the camera or right next to it to like help give their eyes something to focus on. But practice this, you guys. I promise it's worth it. Yeah, Lisa says, oh, those thumbnails. Yeah, they're crazy. Okay, so if you do that, if you get really comfortable, and I promise you, it takes a little time, but it's so comfortable after a while. Like I literally can imagine all of you on the other side of that lens. And it's all like individuals, right? Remember, you might be talking to a lot of people, but it's one person on the other side of that lens that is hearing your message. You're making a connection with one person at a time. You just happen to be able to do it like en masse, right? So when you're talking to people and the language that you're using, speak to an individual. I do sometimes say, like, I speak to the group of you, right? So like in my intro, I say, for those of you who don't know me or don't know me well, that's to a group. But oftentimes, most of the times, I try and speak to one of you. I will say you instead of, well, you in the singular versus you in the plural. I'll try and speak to like each one of you individually. So now it's a balance. Don't force that. But if you can remember that it's one person who's watching you at the other end of the camera, then that'll just help make that like a natural conversation. Imagine you're talking to your dreamiest client, right? The one person. It happens to be that a whole bunch of your potential dreamiest clients are hearing you. Okay? Jill says it's mindset. You know, just about everything we do in business is mindset. So you're totally right, Jill. It's all of this is a mindset shift, right? And just thinking about how to use video to share your message. It's such a great way to get out there. Okay. You guys, I spent a lot of time on my first 2 bullet points. This is what I mean about not scripting though. Like I think about all the stuff I want to talk about and then you get to just like engage and be with people and it's way more fun. Okay. Here's the order of, okay, let's go this way. Here's the order of events that I do on all of my Facebook Lives. I start my videos by thanking my replay watchers. Now you're going to find that weird, but how many of you who join me live, who've ever joined me live, ever hear the first 15 seconds of the video? You usually don't. Here's why. When you hit the go live button, there's about a 15-second delay before it actually hits Facebook. Now, if people are watching, like they clicked that reminder because I pre-schedule my live, they might be on my page and there when it goes live. But 99% of the time, people are not there waiting for your Facebook Live to start. But maybe they get that notification that says Carrie Price is going live right now. By the time they click it and it gets to the page and it loads up, 99% of the people who see the first 15 seconds of your video are the replay watchers. So if you've never watched one of my replays, go back and watch any of my Facebook Lives. I start every one with I think I say happy Tuesday because I go live every Tuesday, right? Happy Tuesday. Thank you so much for making the time to watch this replay. Because only my replay watchers are ever going to see it. I want to make a connection with my replay watchers because I value them as much as my live attendees. I mean, I love that you guys are here live. Don't get me wrong, because we get to interact and I get to answer your questions and things like that. But replay watchers, most of your views are going to come from replay watchers. So keep that in mind throughout your live. If you start off by thanking them for watching the replay, all throughout, you'll notice if I'm asking you to leave me a comment or answer a question, I'll say, even if you're watching the replay, to do that. I want my replay watchers to feel valued as well, right? Helen says, good point. Yeah, most of our watchers are going to come from the replay. So we want to be present for our live viewers. Don't get me wrong, but always keep in mind your replay watchers. So I always start with, thank you for watching the replay. Then I tease the topic. I usually have 2 to 3 sentences recapping what the purpose of today's live topic or the current live topic is going to be. Oftentimes, it's very similar to the content that I've put out there. It's in the description or that I've put out to promote the Facebook Live in advance. So I'm sort of recapping that so that as people are joining and watching, they're like, oh, yep, this is a video that I want to stay tuned for, right? She's going to be talking about these things. And then, now I don't do this all the time, but I'm starting to do it more and more. And I don't remember if I did it with this video or not. Then I try and ask a question to immediately start encouraging the engagement. I think I asked the question after I introduced myself, but I try and ask a question pretty early on. Today, I asked like, hey, I think I did do this. Do you use Facebook Live? If so, do you do it regularly? If not, why not? Because I want to get people like starting to engage, right? Like share with me where you are in relation to this topic. And then I share my impactful introduction. Now, if you don't already have an impactful introduction, something that you can give in 7 to 15 seconds that tells people exactly who you are, who you serve, what you do, and why anyone should care, make sure you grab my cheat sheet for that to get my formula for the impactful introduction. You can get that at introcheatsheet.com. Because you want to use that impactful introduction consistently every time. Now, over the last year and a half, my own introduction has evolved because my message has evolved, but you want to use that consistently. People will come to recognize it, know it. It's helping them reinforce they're in the right place and what you want to be known for. Okay, so you use your impactful introduction. And then I want you to jump right into the content. So all of that, the welcome your replay watchers, teasing the topic and introducing yourself, you're like a minute and a half into your video and jump right in. A lot of people feel like they need to like wait around for people to join them live, especially if no one's on live with you yet, right? It's very tempting to want to do that, but you're wasting time. You're wasting the opportunity to like just jump right in, especially knowing 90% or more of your watchers are going to be replay watchers. You're going to lose them. So get right into the content. Now, people can join you late. That's okay. You just say, hey, thanks for joining me. If they ask a question, you're like, hey, great question. I covered that at the beginning. You can go catch the replay. Don't be afraid to just tell them they can catch that on the replay. You don't have to repeat things. Okay. Or if there's a quick nugget that you can give to encourage them to go back and watch because they missed something really juicy, then you can do that. But get right into the topic. Don't wait around. The one exception to this would be like sometimes when I'm doing, totally lost my train of thought. When I'm doing video like inside my group and it's maybe behind the scenes, or sometimes I'll do an Ask Me Anything Q&A, I might wait around for a little bit because if I know that there's people that are joining and that there's questions. But if I'm delivering a topic with training that I said, here's what I'm going to cover, like get right to it. Okay. So you're going to walk through your bullet points. And we talked about that last week, how to prepare so that you can be comfortable when it's time to go live. This is where you're sharing whatever it is that you want to teach in your one-of-a-kind way, right? So make sure it's infused with your message, your brand vocabulary, your brand personality. What is it you want your ideal clients to know? And so you're going to walk through all of your bullet points. Don't be afraid to reference your notes. I have them right here on the screen, right here below my camera, and I'm never afraid to look at them. Now, I use them just as prompts, right? Like, again, it's not scripted out. It's like, oh, hey, Carrie, make sure I talk about asking questions. Oh, hey, Carrie, make sure I talk about the impactful introduction. I know how to talk about that stuff, right? It's my message. Same thing should apply for you. Whatever it is you want to talk about, you know your stuff. Give yourself some bullet points, though, to remind you the things that you want to cover. Now, one of the things that I think stresses some people out, and I know I've been asked this before, is like, how do you deal with the fact that it's live and people are asking questions? And sometimes that gets frustrating because you get diverted and off topic. Anybody, like, let me know. Is that something that's hard or uncomfortable for you? Like balancing your topic with all the live comments? I'm going to take a sip of my tea while you share that answer with me. Because part of the benefit of the Facebook Live is that people are live with you, right? And they get to interact with you and you want to engage in the comments. I see some people who they do Facebook Live and then don't respond to comments. To me, that sort of defeats the purpose of going live, right? You may as well pre-record a video and post it. I mean, except that Facebook prefers live video over pre-recorded video. But for the most part, the reason we go live is so that we can have interaction and engagement with our audience, right? Jill says, I wish I had more of that. It shows engagement. You wish you had more live watchers with comments, or you wish that you were more comfortable with that, Jill? But yes, sometimes the questions or comments come in delayed and sometimes off topic. Okay. Yes, perfect segue. So I mentioned earlier, and you know what? Hang on. Why everything is in bold today? Did I do that? I may have done that. Oh, I like that better. Okay, sorry. Okay, Jill says, I wish I had more live comments. Yeah. So, and I know that's frustrating for, especially when you're first starting out and you don't have a lot of live watchers with you. It feels weird talking to the camera. You know you're live, but there's really no one there. This is where having a regular, reliable schedule will help you over time, because people will know, oh, Jill goes live every Wednesday at 8 o'clock, whatever it is. I go live every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern. You always can find me here. So that's going to help over time. The promoting it in advance. I talked about all of this last week. So if you missed it, check out last week's Facebook Live. And if you can't find it, let me know in the comments and I'll copy the link in for you. But promoting it is huge. Making sure that the topics that you're talking about are relevant and relatable to your audience. Again, this all comes out of really knowing your message and really knowing who you're talking to and your clients. All of that's going to help you over time increase your live viewership. Okay. But don't worry if no one's watching you. Remember, 90% is going to come from replays anyway. So don't forget the value of that. All right. But Jill, when you talked about comments come in delayed and off topic, yeah, I'm going to talk about that in just a moment. Cheryl says that might be the real thing that's hard. I mean, talking to the air just feels too weird. I get that. And I've had plenty of live videos with no watchers. There's definitely a different energy and dynamic, but it can be a really great thing. And we can talk about that more. I'll talk about that more in the Q&A at the end of the month. Cheryl says, so I can see that taking advantage of groups that let you go live in their group would be really super helpful. Yeah, that's another way to increase your live watchers, is to be in groups. There are a couple groups. I also go in live every week and share something short, 7-ish minute videos. Sometimes I get people who join me. Most of the times I don't. So just be aware of that. I mean, I think I get the most live viewers here on my page. Because I promote it in advance, people are coming, because they're topics that are relevant and helpful to them. So I get a lot of that from paying attention to what people are talking about, where they're struggling. So the topics are things people care about, but I don't often get a lot of live watchers when I'm live in other people's groups, and that's okay. All right. Okay, Cheryl says, that's because we know when you will be on. That's what being reliable is, right? Having a schedule where people come to know. Carrie goes live every Tuesday at 11 a.m. And if the topic interests you, this is where you can find me. That increases live viewership. Okay, but let's talk about how to deal with handling the comments and your topic. So Jill brought up a really good point. I'll bring her comment up again. The questions are coming in delayed and sometimes off topic. So remember I mentioned that the reason I use that first 15 seconds of my videos to thank my replay watchers is because there is a delay. There's about a 15-second delay, even right now as you're watching me. Whatever you're seeing right now happened 15 seconds ago. So what that means is by the time you see it and then you comment, right, you have time to comment, and then it gets back to me, there's probably a 20 to 30 second delay. Now, part of it is you can try and remember what you talked about 30 seconds ago. And if you've been talking about the same topic for a little while, that's a little bit easier. But if not, that's okay. If you sort of bounce back a little bit, to move forward, it's kind of like one step back and then 2 steps forward and then 1 step back and 2 steps forward. So here's what I recommend as you're addressing comments. And you guys see me do it here. If you are using a third-party tool like Ecamm Live or BeLive TV, you can actually show the comment on the screen. But even if you're not using that, you're going live natively in Facebook, read the comment out before you address it. One of the things that kills me is when I'm watching a Facebook Live and there's I can see, right, as a watcher, you can see all the comments, but you'll see the presenter say something like, oh, yeah, Jill, totally agree with that. Agree with what? Like, what were you reading at that point in time, right? So for the benefit of all of the watchers, including the person who you're responding to, read out the question or read out the comment before you address it. You know, the things like, oh yeah, and Cheryl says that's because we know when you'll be on. Even if I wasn't able to show that on the screen, I could speak to it, right? So everybody knows the comment that I'm going to make in response to that. So that helps make it like an interactive conversation and not this one-sided, like, who are you talking to? What do you mean? Like, I don't know what comment you just read, right? So that allows people to hear both sides of the conversation and then be part of it. Now, when it's like you've already talked about that and you're jumping back and forth, this will just take a little bit of practice. But sometimes I like scan the comments and I might not address it right away. I want to finish my train of thought first, right? Then I'll say like, okay, let me go back and get caught up on the comments. Don't be afraid to do that too. Remember, you're trying to communicate information and you want that to be helpful for people. So you don't want to be like in the middle of a train of thought and go, and then, oh wait, Cheryl says, right? Like you don't want to like interrupt that flow of ideas. So feel free to finish your train of thought, then go get caught back up in the comments. Also, don't be afraid to not address a comment. Sometimes a comment is completely off topic. Worse yet, maybe it's a troll, right? So some people like celebrate when they get their first troll. For those of you who don't know what that term means, it's the people who show up and they want to be negative. They want to attack you. They want to, they're there to stir up trouble. Don't be afraid just to ignore those. Don't let that derail you. Now, that doesn't mean to avoid just because someone disagrees with you. You actually can turn that into a really great conversation that elevates you and your expertise. A couple months back, somebody who follows me very amicably disagreed with what I was saying. And we had an amazing conversation during that Facebook Live that by the end, she's like, okay, maybe I need to change the way I think. So don't be afraid of a difference of opinion, but don't feed the trolls either, okay? Lisa says, yes, it's so important to read the comment. Yeah, when we don't do that, it's like we're now having a private conversation that, by the way, the person that wrote the comment might not even realize you're talking to them, but you're leaving everybody else out too. So read the comment out loud. And you know what? Sometimes when there's a lot of activity, if you miss some, don't worry. Next week, I'm going to talk about all the things I do after a Facebook Live, and you can totally address them if you missed them after. All right, so you're engaging as you go. And then, you know what? Also, don't be afraid, like, hello, I'm going to look at right now, totally running long today. So I'm going to wrap this up, but I want to leave you with the last couple things. Cheryl says, don't feed the trolls. Yeah, don't feed the trolls. Just don't engage with them. It's okay. Okay. After you're done, you're engaging, you're sharing all your great content. 2 things I want you to make sure that you include at the end. The first is some sort of a call to action. Now, I'll admit I'm not always totally good at this, but sometimes you'll see that I've got call to actions throughout, right? But you want to leave people with like, what do you want them to do next? That could be drop in a comment. That could be come join me for this additional discussion in my Facebook group, or grab my freebie, or maybe you really are promoting something, right? To sign up for something, but give people something to do. For example, what I would like all of you to do, if you didn't already grab my freebie, I'm going to share that with you again, introcheatsheet.com, so that you have a really concise introduction at the beginning of all of your videos. But then I want you to come into the messaging den, the messagingden.com, or search for that right here on Facebook, and come in and introduce yourself via Facebook Live, even if you've never done a Facebook Live before. I want to see people introducing themselves today inside the group. It can be 1 minute. It can be 3 minutes. Keep it under, 7 to 10 minutes, but come in and just introduce yourself. You're going to see what the steps are like to go live. Hopefully I'll try and catch as many of you live as I can today. And just let people get to know you and see you. All right. Don't overthink it. Just go live so that you can say you've done it. So that is the big call to action that I would like for you today. Bonus points if you share your impactful introduction. So make sure you grab your cheat sheet at introcheatsheet.com. Don't worry about it being perfect. For those of you that are my clients, though, you should have your impactful intro pretty tight. I'm not going to judge you if you don't feel like it's totally tight, but come in and introduce yourself into the group. All right. The last thing to include on your Facebook Lives is a sign off. So just like at the beginning, I sort of have a format of how I start every video, including my impactful introduction. I want you to end with a sign off. What do you want people to remember? This, again, should be part of your one-of-a-kind message. All right. And so I'll share mine with you as I wrap up. But if you have any questions that I did not cover today, around going live and all the intricacies of doing that, drop those in the comments below, even if you're watching the replay. If you're watching the replay, let me know that too, so I can come back and thank you properly for making the time to do that. But then also, here's the big call to action. Another one that I shared today. Come into the messaging den in this afternoon at 2:30 Eastern, I think. That doesn't sound right. 3:30 Eastern, I think. I'm going behind the scenes. I'm going to show you guys my studio, all the tools and equipment that I use, and all the equipment I've used along the way, going from my cell phone now to the webcam that I use. And again, my whole setup today is probably right around $200, maybe a little bit less. So it's not a very expensive setup, but I'm going to break it all down for you guys this afternoon. So come and join us in the messaging den. Come back next week at 11 a.m. Eastern, right here on my page, where I'm going to be talking about all the things to do after your Facebook Live. And this is where I see a lot of people missing out on some really great opportunities for making the most of their Facebook Lives. So join me next week for that. And here's my wrap up. In the meantime, don't settle for sounding like anybody else. Make sure you stand out, you get heard, make your message roar. Have a great day. I'll see you soon. Bye.